Morning. I've been asked to talk about how to read a book. So this is just the first session, very short video. The main point I want to make is that if you find a big enough why, you'll find a how. Stop for a moment. Look around the room that you're in. Just look around. You're not doing it. No, stop for a moment. Look around the room that you're in. You done that? Great. There's a point to it. Okay? Notice that when I asked the question told you to look around the room, you kind of said, hold on a second, why? Why should I look around the room? That's the exact point I'm making, is why makes a big difference in terms of reading a book. And one of the questions you have to ask yourself is why am I reading this book? I'll come back to that in a minute. Well, when you read a book, you need to ask one question at the outset probably, which is, what am I looking for? And I would say essentially you're looking for three different things. The first thing is plot, the second thing is characters, and the third thing is themes. If I use the example of Pride and Prejudice, with a plot there's three different elements. The starting place, complication and resolution. So relating it to Pride and Prejudice, the starting place is this dad who has 5 daughters. He's going to lose his estate to a male heir because they're all women. So he wants to get them all married off, safely married off. What's the complication? Well, there's one particular daughter called Lizzie, and she falls to this guy called Darcy, and what they represent is pride and prejudice. His problem is pride, her problem is prejudice. How is it resolved? I'm not going to tell you the whole story, but what I will say is that he becomes a lot more humble, and she becomes a lot more open. The second thing is characters. If you look at the various characters in Pride and Prejudice, you've got Darcy, Lizzie and Mr. Wickham. They're particularly well drawn, and if you focus on the characters, you learn a lot more about the book. What kind of characters they like, what's their personalities, what are their traits, and so on. And finally, themes. One of the big themes, of course, of Pride and Prejudice is how love overcomes the class barriers. So where do we go from here? Well, I would say it's important to plan. Think about what kind of book you want to read. For me, Pride and Prejudice is a book I want to read. Why do I want to read it? It's a classic. How was I going to read it? Well, it's about 303 pages, and in terms of my reading speed, I can read very fast, probably 150 words an hour, but I wanted to take the time on it, so I worked out it would take me about 3 hours to read it. What if I did it? Well, what's the benefit there? Well, I'd be on target, basically, and it'd be reviewed for other people. So, going back to what I said to you previously, if I said to you, look around your room now, okay? And you said, well, why should I? Well, if I told you there's a £100 note there which has been left on the ground, which is yours for the asking, then you'd take a bit more notice, wouldn't you? Thank you. End of session.